Hey, gentlemen.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, it is my good friend, the wise guy, Jimmy Cicero, joining us. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. How about you, buddy?
Let's keep pushing on, brother. Keep pushing on. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good.
Good. We got my buddy Zane Paisley on here with us. Say hi to Zane there, Jimmy Cicero.
How you doing, Zane? Nice to meet you, brother.
Nice to meet you. Thank you so much for coming on. Really looking forward to hearing you and Q reminisce about your exploits together and learning more about your career.
Well, it'll be my pleasure. I always enjoy telling old war stories with Q Ball there.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. I think one of the, I think I'll start off first, and I'm going to ask for the people that don't know who wise guy Jimmy Cicero is. Welcome on your first day out from underneath the proverbial rock. And, cause, he's considered one of the best journeyman wrestlers ever. And, just have Matt, if you could just run through your career, where you got trained, who trained you, and, what it was like.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. I was trained, in 1993. I originally actually had gone up to Norfolk, and I was, in 92 and was was looking into being trained, by, Lou Thez and Mark Fleming. And I went up to Norfolk, and, I wasn't quite ready physically at that time to go ahead and pull the trigger. So I, upped my training, in the gym and everything. And then, about 6 or 7 months later, I moved down to, Charlotte, North Carolina. And then I trained 20 minutes away from there in a little town called Indian Trail, North Carolina. And I was trained by Ivan Koloff, down there. And, Ivan originally had run the school in partnership with, Bobby Fulton of the Fantastics. Bobby had just moved back to Ohio. So it was, Ivan, was just his school at that point in time. Now he had Jackie Fulton, who still went down there, pretty much bi-weekly in between his trips to Japan. So like every third week when he would get back from Japan, he would, step in and help out, with the training. And then he had, journeyman wrestlers from the Mid-Atlantic, like Tommy Angel, who would come in and work with all of us young guys. And then every so often we'd be, surprised by, a veteran like, Tully Blanchard, who would just stop in to say hi to Ivan and impart his knowledge on all of us. And of course, guys like myself, I was starstruck then. I'm going, holy cow, he's coming in and he's just talking shop like it's nothing. But, for me, it was culture shock, but it was a great experience for me. It was really good that what I had to do was move. I had to get out of my comfort zone and move from Northern Virginia, to North Carolina by myself. I rented an efficiency. And I had to, it was pretty much I had to work in hand in hand with the former promoter of South Atlantic Pro Wrestling, a guy named Mike Lambeth. And SAPW had just got done shutting down, but he still had ties to the school, the Ivan school, and to the training they had down there, the gyms and everything. So he hooked me up with an efficiency with the gym. And then, obviously, he put me in touch with Ivan. I went down there and met with Ivan and 2 weeks later, I actually moved down there and that was my world. My whole world was basically, wake up, go to the gym, go to the wrestling school, come back to the gym and then take about 10 Advil and lie in a hot tub in my efficiency and wonder why I'm doing this and wonder if I'm insane. And then the next day I'd do it again and again. And then obviously it becomes who we are, but at that time, our class started off with, I want to say 32 students and our class ended with 3 students. Like any other legit wrestling school, the vast majority of the people that start off quit, and that's not a knock on them. It's just not cut out for everybody, as you well know, Q-ball. It's one of those things that, some people they want it, or they want to do it, but they don't realize the price you have to pay to actually be successful, or to actually become a member of the fraternity of professional wrestling. And so, whenever I meet somebody who says, I tried it, but I couldn't do it, I don't blame them. It's sort of like someone who tried to be a football player and just wasn't good enough. It doesn't mean that they're a bad person. It just means that, unfortunately, it solidifies the statement that, you have to have a special quality to be able to be a member of our fraternity. And that is why the brothers and sisters of our fraternity have a bond that really no one else will ever truly understand.
Well, and that's the thing, Jimmy. You said you didn't think you're ready for Luthez. I thought I was, and that was the biggest mistake in my life.
Right. I went down there and I mean, he was, at first, I was a little bit afraid, because when I said, I met him and I said hello, and his wife was very nice, and I looked and I said, what's up with his ears? What's wrong with this guy's ears? Well, he had cauliflower ears, but, as a wrestling fan, seeing that close up, I was like, holy crap. That's not makeup. This isn't, Tom Savini doing some kind of makeup job. This he's got mangled ears. This is the real deal, and you don't know anything about it, but you're seeing him, and then I'm watching, Mark Fleming, who was doing all the footwork, and he's in the gym, and he's got some other student, I guess, and it looked like he was tying the kid into a pretzel, and the kid was obviously in a lot of pain, and I'm thinking to myself, well, am I ready for this? Not quite yet, no. And so that's why I went ahead and made the decision to put it off. And in that time, when I had a chance to actually go down there and meet with Ivan, and Ivan was just so incredibly kind. He ran things. The way that he teaches is a lot different than a lot of the current, things that these fans, I guess, they get a glimpse of what they think is pro wrestling on Tough Enough, where there's, cameras, and if there's a camera rolling, that means it's reality TV, and that means that a large part of what you're seeing is already predetermined or is for the benefit of the camera. Okay, so it's not necessarily the way it is. The way that Ivan taught us was he taught every student differently based on what they knew, what their physical skills were and abilities, and in their learning curve. I might come in and I might be able to pick up a tackle or a drop down or a hip toss really quickly, but a back bump or a forward bump, taking a forward bump or even something as simple as a small package, it might take me 2-3 weeks to get that. It's a lot of it's coordination, and Ivan was very patient with all of that. He understood that different people had different learning curves, and so he worked individually with people. And hold on a second. I'll help you in a little bit. Love you. That's for all you listeners out there.
Is that your beautiful wife, or is that Tricky Nicky?
That was my beautiful wife, and she is going to bed. And I'm a compassionate baby face. So
you are indeed, my friend. You are indeed.
And my wife just said that's because I don't want to sleep on the couch. So. But anyway, and again, I could go on and on about the way that Ivan taught, but he was very patient, very encouraging. A lot of these people that they feel like by just belittling or tearing down a student that's going to be the way to bring them along. And to me, that's what you're going to end up doing, is just driving them away, and really you're doing more damage. If there's something, rest assured, if there's something that someone needs work on, or if there's an area that they need to improve on, absolutely we'll be the first person to let them know that they need to improve on that. But at the same time, it really it really helps to be able to build that person up. And Ivan was really good at that when he'd say, hey, Matt, listen, your facial expressions are terrific. Your tie-ups are good and strong, but when you get into that corner, you got to put your hands in front of your face. Would you do that in a real fight? Well, yes, I would. That's what you need to do. You need to make this seem as legit as possible. If you're going to give a facial expression, make sure you do it upward so that the person in row Z can see your facial expression, because that person paid money as well for a ticket, and that person needs to be able to feel your pain, your agony, your anxiety, your happiness, whatever. So he would have a way of explaining it to where I understood it. It wasn't a way of belittling me. It was a way to say, oh, I get it. I know why I have to do this now. Not so much just to hear himself talk, where a lot of these, pseudo wrestling schools nowadays are so intent on, or have these teachers that like to listen to themselves talk. And in reality, people are tuning them out before they have a chance to get their second sentence out. If you have a guy like Ivan Koloff, or a guy like Luthez, or some of these other schools, someone like the Wild Samoan, Samu or Afa, who, can explain the why you're doing this. Why are you tying up tightly? Why are you keeping your head up? Okay, well, you put your head down and you tie up, you could break the guy's nose. You got two heads that are like two rams that are going forward, and you tie up and your forehead smashes into his nose because you were looking down instead of up. So a lot of it is safety based. A lot of it is fan based. So the fans can enjoy the show and also be able to see, what story you're trying to convey. And a lot of the time we have to tell that story with our face, with facial expressions, just as much as any move that we're doing in the ring. So a good teacher like that really makes a difference. And Ivan provided that for me. So I think that, again, I apologize for having a run-on sentence here with you guys, but again, I could go on and on and on about the teachings of Ivan Koloff, that I learned there in Indian Trail.
Hey, we've had Ivan on the show before, and I just think it's a shame that WWE doesn't recognize him and put him in the Hall of Fame. He was, their third champion ever, and that's the most glaring omission that I see from them. Yeah,
I agree wholeheartedly, and I don't use that as a knock to some of the other deserved people that are in there, obviously. But if you're going to tell me that Tammy Fitch is in there, but Ivan Koloff's not, then I'm going to tell you that it is absolutely it's a fallacy. It's it's a flawed system that they have there. If you're going to put Tammy Fitch, who say what you will about her personal life or her the way that she conducted herself up there, and I was a friend of Chris Candido's, so I'm not a fan necessarily of the way that she conducted her life or the way that she treated him. But she drew money for them, which was, I guess, the bottom line in some people's eyes. But you don't even say her name in the same breath as Ivan Koloff's, okay? Because like you said, Ivan Koloff defeated. They put him over Bruno Sammartino. They're not going to just put anybody over Bruno, okay? They chose Ivan. Now, you can say he was a transitional champion between Bruno and Pedro Morales, and that may be true. So is the Iron Sheik. He was a transitional champion, but, that's a very important role, even that transitional role, okay? And Ivan went on to also obviously do countless great things. He challenged Backlund for a good stretch of time when Bob Backlund held the strap there. Ivan was he redefined a foreign heel, okay? When he first called me to come, when I called him and when I expressed an interest and he called me back, the first conversation I had with him on the telephone, when he called me, he said, "Hey, I'm trying to reach Matt Bowman." And I said, "This is Matt. Who am I talking to? Who's this?" He said, "Hey, Matt, how you doing?" "Hey, it's Ivan Koloff." And I thought, very funny. Who is this? Matt, it's Ivan Koloff from North Carolina. Hold on a second. And then I had to gather myself because Ivan Koloff doesn't smile and laugh and say, hi, it's Ivan Koloff. Ivan Koloff calls me a weak American and says that the road to the Kremlin is paved in gold. And then worst case scenario, he'll ask me if I'm a liar and then have Nikita sickle me, like he did David Crockett. So, I mean, that's how convincing Ivan Koloff was throughout his entire career. He was a great wrestler. If you speak to any of the other guys that were in programs with him, obviously whether it was the late Dusty Rhodes, Ole Anderson, obviously the Rock and Roll Express, or Animal from the Road Warriors, those guys loved Ivan Koloff. They really did. Anytime I speak, when I meet with veterans now, and I say, hey, listen, and I'm one of Koloff's boys, people's eyes light up. They love Ivan Koloff, not only because he was a great wrestler, but he was a great locker room guy. He was a very giving worker, and he was one of the boys. He's people loved Ivan Koloff. So I'm stunned that they have not put him into the Hall of Fame, and I don't. Obviously, there's some reason why, political reason why. I don't know what it is. But maybe it's because Ivan is so faith-based right now. He's a born again Christian, and that's something that he stresses, and he's really not a fan of the divas and things along those lines. Or the ones that carry themselves a certain way, I think. And maybe that has something to do with their decision. I mean, I don't know, but I will just say I agree with your statement that, for whatever reason, it's wrong. There's guys like Bruno where they finally put him in, which was good. Ivan Koloff needs to be in there. And there's others as well that, you just hope that they do the right thing. But from my standpoint, I think the two guys that I really would love to see in there, Ivan Koloff and obviously the big brother to myself and Q-Ball and a lot of other guys, which was, obviously Nature Boy Buddy Landell.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Jimmy, let's fast forward a little bit. Now, I don't know if you know it, but 20 years ago, the beginning of this month, we wrestled on our first show together. And it was at Fairfax County High School, and there was about 1,590 people in the building. It was packed. And we started doing things with Tom Brandy that night. And that kind of was the catalyst to, within a couple months, you and I were traveling every weekend together somewhere to the Carolinas or up north. And if I got in somewhere, I got you in. And if you got somewhere, you got me in. But, I was telling the boys that we lived 40 minutes apart. So it was easy for us to jump in a car together and drive 4 hours somewhere because there was two of us. And, of course, later on, we added in, Christian York and Joey Matthews became Joey Mercury. And, I think one of the best things we did when we sat down to run the school that I had and you were the head trainer at, I think what we set out to do was to do some of Ivan and some of Lou. And I think that we had a perfect combination of those two people because I tell people about the success of our students. Now, we actually had a lot of students because I think we both brought the kindness side of the business to it, except for, what was that one guy's name? The Hispanic guy we trained? Por favor, MF?
Yeah, that was Por favor.
Durango or something?
I can't remember his name, and I think that it was something that I for some reason, maybe I skipped lunch that day or whatever. I was in a bad mood. And I think I kept telling him to
over and over.
Maybe grab me, huh?
You kept telling him the same thing over and over, and he kept doing it wrong.
Yeah, and I usually am very patient with that, and for whatever reason, he did something, and I think I just yelled, por favor, Emmer or whatever. I got really pissed at the kid, and I thought, I would say I feel bad about it. I don't know. He was a nice kid. It was me being impatient.
Everybody else paid attention. Everybody else paid attention the rest of the night.
Everybody else paid attention.
So,
and
I don't think a lot of people know it, but Christian York was a real challenge in the beginning, wasn't he?
He was. Joey was the teacher's pet. Okay, because Joey did everything that was asked, and yes sir, no sir, whatever. He was a teacher's pet, and as a result, we loved that kid. Christian would have a smirk on his face. Yeah, man. All right, man. Whatever. And I remember, yelling at him quite a bit because he would, we'd tie up and he would be unsafe with something, or he would, like a body slam. He wouldn't put the hand behind the neck to make sure that, like you flip it like a pancake. You got to make sure that as you're bringing him down, you have that other hand behind his neck to cradle him as you're going down. Well, he would just kind of haphazardly do a body slam, and he'd be like, all right, man. And I'm like, well, you think it's funny? He would almost be like Joe Pesci from Goodfellas. But I remember, because he was so damn talented as a thing, and he knew better. He was an amateur wrestler at Manassas Park High School.
Yep.
Okay, and he knew better, but he would fall into lazy tendencies. And Joey had more of a penchant for detail. Joey was a detail freak. He would want to know he would not only know why, and he would not only know how to do it, he would want to know why. Okay? Which is why he was probably the smarter of the two, but Christian probably had more natural talent, physical talent, meaning not, I think Joey had more in the brain upstairs, but I think Christian had more physical talent. Then of course they fed off of each other, got better when but they became inseparable. And then they both became incredibly talented and incredibly smart and much, much better than I ever was. That's for sure. That's when people say, wow, you were just an enhancement guy. And I'm like, well, actually I take pride in the fact that I was an enhancement guy, but I didn't necessarily have the it factor that our students had. Our students had the it factor. I was what they'd call a good hand. I was a good locker room guy. I got along with everybody. I'd do whatever he asked and everything else. But from a charismatic standpoint, from the ability to make the fans really emotionally invest, Joey and Christian had that. And they ran with it. And those guys, they learned how to wrestle from us. They learned how to work while being on the road with us, but then even after that, when they would go down to the Carolinas and work with the Omega kids and with guys like, obviously with Matt and Jeff, but also with Shane and Shannon and Mike and those guys, and they and the thing about it is, and they would go everywhere. It didn't matter, it became, and so they earned what they got, and that's right. And reflecting back, I look at that and go, I'm proud of what our kids have done, but I'm also proud of what we've accomplished as not only as trainers and teachers, but also as being good, respected workers. Right. You say, okay, well, what am I, like the killer Tim Brooks of the of our era? Well, maybe, and there's nothing wrong with that. I thought that we were good wrestlers. We had, we were respected by the veterans, guys like Tom Brandy, guys like, King Kong Bundy or Shane Douglas, the Iron Sheik and everything else. So I was very happy with what we accomplished, proud of it. And like I said, brother, we're part of a fraternity. We're part of a brotherhood. No one can ever take that away. We're lifelong members. I mean, we are going to be part of that fraternity until we die, and then our legacy will be there even after we're dead. So that's no one can ever take that away.
That's exactly correct. And I look back at the time on the road, and we were fortunate because we worked the pit bulls many times. We worked the bushwhackers. We got in there with road warriors. I mean, we really in singles matches. I mean, Bill Eadie, and we were really fortunate. We got put in with some big guys. Beefcake, I put you in with Bigelow, and he loved you. And Neidhart loved you. I mean, we worked a lot of named guys, and every one of them respected us because we knew how to go up to them and then, what do you want to do, kid? Hey, whatever you want to do. It's your show, man. And,
absolutely.
It really got us a long way because those guys respect us. By the way, I forgot to tell you, I apologize. when I was at WrestleCade 3 weeks ago, I saw Uncle Ivan. I came up, gave him a hug. He goes, I know you. I said, I'm Q-Ball Carmichael. I used to be Jimmy Cicero, Matt Bowman's tag team partner. We ran that school together in that underground bar. He goes, oh, that's it. He goes, I knew you. And I said, yeah. He goes, Matt and I had dinner on Father's Day. And I said, yeah. He goes, tell him I said hello when you talk to him. I said, I will, Uncle Ivan. So, he gave a big hello. And, it's always funny because guys will ask, Billy D every time I see him, where's your partner in crime? I'm like, who's Cicero? He goes, who else? So, it's always...
we had great times working Bill Eady. He was such a well-spoken individual. I mean, he's so smart and just such a nice guy. And it's so funny that as a kid, I was terrified of the Masked Superstar. Terrified.
Yeah, everybody
was. He was just, right. So it's funny, Q-Ball, but one of the things that I teach my son Jack, Mike, my son Michael, but he goes as Jack Cicero, and one of the things I teach him now is enjoy every moment that you're doing. Enjoy meeting all these other workers and superstars and everything. Enjoy it and take it for what it's worth. In other words, don't, a lot of these guys I think are afraid, so they kind of downplay it, or they don't want to, they're like, I don't want to come across like a mark. And I'm like, listen, I made that mistake, for a period of time, and it was a mistake. If you're in the locker room and Hacksaw Duggan is getting dressed 5 feet away from you, okay, yeah, we're colleagues, and we're both going to go out there, and whether we're tag teaming, I think Duggan tagged with my son and with Jack that night. And so we're colleagues. When it comes time to do business in the ring, we'll do that. But when we're in that locker room, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to him and I'm going to say, listen, you're phenomenal. I grew up watching you and Ted DiBiase battle it out in Mid-South and watching you and Matt Bourne and I want to say that I'm a huge fan. Okay. And it really means a lot to these veterans when you're able to put that aside and let them know how much we appreciate them. They're the ones that paved the way for us. I know we're not young chickadees or anything like that, but the fact of the matter is guys like that paved the way for us. And, I think it's important that I know that I appreciate it when I hear these young guys now on shows come up to me and thank me for different things or ask me for advice. I appreciate that. It really does make me feel good. It means a lot to me. It means that I'm doing the right thing, that I'm respected. And I pass that on to the veterans that I see now, and I tell that to Jack. I say, listen, you have Tommy Rich, or Hacksaw Jim Duggan, or a Masked Superstar, Bill Eady, or King Kong Bundy. I said, it's really important to take a moment and say, listen, all honesty and in all sincerity, okay, I want to tell you that I respect you, and it's really an honor to be in this locker room with you. Okay, we can talk shop in a little while. We can talk about old matches you were in. We can joke around and also, but it's important to spend that 1 or 2 minutes letting that guy know just how valuable they are and how respected they are, and what an important part of this industry they are. Because by doing that, to me, I just think it's an obligation, and it's something that they deserve to hear.
Sure.
And so that's something that I pass on to him that I probably didn't necessarily pass on, when we were having Joey and Christian and we had Matt Griffin and Shorty. I think a lot of what I was saying at that point in time was demark yourself, which is important. It's very important for you to be able to carry yourself as a professional and not a mark. But I think it's also important for you to be able to take that moment and really let these veterans know how much they are appreciated. And honestly, the hell with anybody else who, there's another guy in that locker room who says, Cicero kissing ass up to Hacksaw Duggan. Well, yeah, I am. And you should too. We all should. We should line up and kiss this guy's ass, because this guy did what this guy did in this business, was phenomenal. And he made it possible for all of us to do the same thing. So, and that's the 47-year-old Jimmy Cicero talking, maybe not the 27-year-old Jimmy Cicero.
Well, I agree with you. I was at WrestleCade, and I walked up to Gary Michael Capetta, and, I told him how important he was to me. And he goes, come on, I wasn't a wrestler. I said, listen, when I was a kid in upstate New York and the WWF came on and I heard Gary Michael Capetta's voice, I knew that I was starting to get butterflies in my stomach and I was going to see superstar Billy Graham or Peter Maivia out there, and I was excited about it. So you don't understand. Your voice was the prequel to me seeing what I just wanted to do so bad.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And everybody knows when Gary Michael Capetta starts talking, that it brings what it does. It brings back memories. You're going,
yes.
Wow, you know what? And those memories are instilled in all of us, whether it was Gary Capetta or whether it was Howard Finkel or
sure.
What was the guy in Georgia, Freddie Miller?
Right.
Be there. Different things like that.
And here's a funny story. Bobby Fulton walks up and talks to me, give him a hug. As I'm talking to Bobby Fulton, Gary Michael Capetta, up strolls superstar Bill Dundee, who I had never met. I introduced him, and he said, Mr. Dundee, I just want to thank you for everything that you did for the business. He said, who trained you, kid? I said, well, it was with Luthez. And he said, oh, my God. So he goes, come here over here. So it's me, Gary Michael Capetta, and Bobby Fulton, and superstar Bill Dundee talking about how the business has changed just in the last 15 or 20 years. And they were going back to war stories and stuff. And I was sitting in there, and I got to tell you, I was in my glory, man. I am in a really good spot right now.
Right. And it's one of those things, cue ball, where you can sit there and go, okay, where it's almost important for you to say, okay, hold on a second. Let me appreciate this moment for a minute. Now, we're all going to talk shop, but damn, I mean, it was almost like when we wrestled against the Road Warriors, okay, and we were in the ring, and they started playing Iron Man, okay, from Black Sabbath, okay, and the Road Warriors came out.
Erupted.
My first impression was to start cheering as a fan going, yeah, all right, the Road Warriors. And then I look and I'm going, wait a minute. They're coming to the ring to kill me. Oh, God, we're dead. So I see Animal coming in. I think he's holding a table or something. They came walking to the ring and holding a table. And I'm going, the Road Warriors, who I grew up watching and cheering like crazy. I mean, there was no bigger fan. Many nights I would leave the Baltimore Arena hoarse. And I didn't have a voice for days because the Road Warriors were there that night, wrestling against those damn Russians, Ivan and Nikita Koloff, and, and here they were. And for me, I had that one split second where I was like, oh man, so cool, the Road Warriors. And then I had to really snap out of it because I was like, shit, excuse my language. I had to go, shoot, this is the Road Warriors, and they're coming, and they're big as houses, and they're coming to get me and Cue Ball.
I remember
time to wake up. Like, no water on my face now.
I remember when we were in the back talking with him, and Animal goes, who wants to start with me? And I go, I will. Because I was so excited that we were getting to work him. I'm like, I will. And I looked around and go, did I really just do that? And then he goes, all right, can you leapfrog me? I go, I'm looking how wide he is, and I'm like, if you can get down low enough, I can. And I did the once, and the second time he caught me and powerbombed me, and I was like, and then a Hawk said, it's going to be me and you outside of the end. Just take care of me, brother. I said, I will. And I was like, after that match, I was like, okay, I'm done. I should just retire tonight.
Yeah, it was one of those things that it was literally, I mean, people, these are things that
surreal.
Yeah, surreal, because then you can turn around and go, wait a minute, I wrestled the Road Warriors. When I wrestled, I remember I had back-to-back nights where I wrestled Bob Backlund for Dennis Carluzzo up in New Jersey. And I went up to the shows, and I didn't know who I was working, and Carluzzo took me and said, okay, listen, I got you with Backlund tonight and tomorrow night. And I went, oh, okay. Well, Bob Backlund was my hero growing up, okay? Yeah. If he was the WWF champion, and if he was at the Capitol Center, I was there because he was my favorite wrestler. So when I got a chance to wrestle Bob Backlund back-to-back, and they said, the first night, he's over. The second night, you're over. And I was like, are you kidding me? Well, I'm sitting there going, okay, I know it's a work, but are you sure? Yes. Because Backlund was doing a heel at that point in time. He was doing the maniacal Bob Backlund type of thing. Well, he doesn't like to talk a lot about what we're doing, so he's in the locker room, and Bob Backlund, he couldn't be any nicer. Really couldn't be any nicer. I mean, he found out I was one of Koloff's boys, and he's like, oh, and almost, broke my hand. He was shaking it so vigorously. And then, we're about 2 hours before bell time, and he starts doing his Harvard step thing, where he starts stepping up on the bench. Okay. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, I thought that was just like a gimmick that he did. No, it's not a gimmick. It was a shoot. He did that for a full hour, up and down, up and down. And all I could think of is, okay, I get blown up in the first 8 minutes, and this guy is going to kill me tonight because I'm going to be gasping for air. And the funny part about it is both matches ended up being a grand total. Like, I think the first night the match was like 5 minutes. The second night the match was probably even shorter than that. And I think and most of it was just gaga with the fans. And then I think he caught me with the chicken wing the first night and beat me. And then the second night he did the chicken wing, and I made it I backed him into a corner. He stumbled back and I schoolboyed him. So it was just like the matches themselves couldn't have been any simpler. But, he was just, it was just, I almost psyched myself out because I was thinking to myself, this guy is, he's in such phenomenal shape. But yeah, terrific guy. And you're right. Surreal moments like that when you have Backlund, or, when you and King Kong Bundy had a series of matches and everything else. And obviously you and the Iron Sheik, everything else. So these are things that are things that we can look back on and say, yeah, man, that was, you can't take that away from me. It was really cool. It was something that was, it was awesome. And they weren't just good matches. Those guys really enjoyed working with us. We were, we were peers.
Cicero, how about Jimmy Snuka pinning us both off the top rope with the Superfly fly? And it was sold out for Dick.
Beautiful.
Hey, you know what's funny is last week they had Severin on and I wasn't here. And Dan Severin didn't remember wrestling in an underground sports bar in '96 against Jimmy Z. How could he forget wrestling that schlub?
Hey, Q, we were just ribbing you. We didn't talk to him about it.
Oh, I'm like, Cicero, I remember, because I told him, I said, Dan, in order for me to pay you got to go 5 minutes. He went like 5 minutes and 1 second. That's crazy. Oh, so now they're ribbing. Yes. They told me Dan didn't know anything about it. Now they say, oh, we're just ribbing you. I'm like, how do you forget? Nobody ever forgot walking down 2 flights of stairs underground to wrestle. I mean, it's not common.
It was definitely, the secret code was,
we weren't even able to, yes, it was. We weren't able to get in any road stories, and we've got to let you go here shortly. I just wanted to give the fans and the people to listen something to laugh about. One time Cicero and I are headed down to, Georgia for Georgia Championship Wrestling, Jerry Oates, and we get to a North Carolina rest area and realize that neither one of us had shaved our back. So we pull into the first available parking spot because it's under a tree, and we're out there and we're both big and jacked up at the time, and we start shaving each other's back, and you could see cars pulling in with their kids looking over at us and going, you can wait to pee to the next rest stop. And they drive right to the rest stop and right back out on the highway.
Yeah, they saw 2 big bald guys with their shirts off shaving each other's backs, and you can see the driver, the husband, and look at his wife, and the wife looks at the husband, and little Junior in the back seat, and they all have this look like, Junior, you're going to have to hold it because we are not stopping here. And they just continued to go right through. They didn't even stop. That was great. And Cue Ball, you may want to also at some point in time tell them about the time that you insulted the leader of the Pagans and put our life in danger.
I don't even know what you're talking about, except for they tried to kill us. Legitimately kill us. Yeah, that's a story for another day. We got to get you back on here because we've barely scratched the surface, and we haven't got into any of the 7 years and over 1 million miles that you and I traveled on the road with combinations of Julio De Niro and Joey and Christian. So we got to get you back on. But I think, and for the fans who listen to the Undisputed Wrestling Show, it's so damn good you can't stand it. Cashing checks and snapping necks with my pal Jimmy Cicero, I've known for 20 plus years. And we got to get you back on. But I think Zane wants to give you a chance to plug any of your social media stuff here, buddy.
No, I was just going to say, can you tell our listeners how they can follow you or your son who's wrestling now?
Yeah, probably the best way to do it right now, because what I'm doing, when I do body slam autism, my two youngest, boys are both autistic. And, what I used to go through Autism Speaks, and I did that for several years. Right now what I do is I support, an organization called the ARC, which is ARC, and it's for, developmentally delayed children and adults, and we when I sell my shirts or pictures or anything like that, I give my money to the local ARC, which again supports the developmentally delayed children and adults and everything else. But for people that want to follow us right now, the best way to be doing it is we'll probably be on Facebook. I don't have a Twitter account, but I am on Facebook under my shoot name, which is Matt Bowman. In parentheses, I have Wiseguy Jimmy Cicero, so they can probably look me up under either one of them. And my son's real name is Michael Bowman. He wrestles as Dr. Jack Cicero, and we're doing some wrestling right now in the Pittsburgh region of the RWA for Steve Carino's promotion, which is the PWF. We'll be prominent players in the MAWL, where Cue Ball runs in the Jacksonville area, and we're everything's going a-okay. We're full steam ahead. My son's 23 now, so he's got a whole career ahead of him, but I'm still hanging on as best I can. I love this business, so definitely follow us, and if put out a friend request. Like I said, I'm always happy to chit chat and meet new people and meet new friends in the wrestling business, whether they be fellow workers in the business or even the fans. So definitely look forward to meeting some new people.
Well, thanks so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. And as Q said, we need to have you back on again because we just scratched the surface with you.
Yeah, and Cicero, make sure your wife's in bed again when we talk next time.
Well, I appreciate it, guys. And again, the only thing I'll say is I apologize if I got long-winded with some of my stories and things there. I tend to chit-chat and sometimes it's hard to get me to shut up, but I'm a very passionate guy when it comes to our business. So, from that, I apologize if I talked a little bit too much there, guys, but the wrestling industry does that to me.
A tough guest is one we can't get a word out of. An easy guest is one that takes the ball and runs with it. So appreciate it. Just so you know, I've been training two guys. Finn's one of them for 2.5 months, and we finally got to the point where we're doing 2 different matches. And they're very basic. And we're going to debut them April 9th. So I want you to take a look at them and give me your honest opinion.
Is that Finn?
Yeah, Finn will debut April 9th, brother.
Good. I can't wait. I look forward. I really like that kid. I look forward to actually getting in the ring and having a match with Finn. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, he's a good kid, man. Thanks. I appreciate it. Tell the family I said hi. Send my love. Tell Tricky Nicky, Uncle Q can't wait to hang out and watch a show with him at PWF. And Merry Christmas, brother. I love you. You know that. And we'll talk soon.
All right. Love you too, brother. Thanks for having me on. We'll talk to you guys again soon.
Thanks. God bless. Zane.
Awesome job, Q. Great guest. We definitely need to have him on again.
Yeah, I call that a home run. He's a good guy. You know what? We never even scratched the surface of the last 20 years with him and I. I mean, it's amazing. Some of the guys we wrestled, but the road stories, when you live with a guy for 7 years in a car every weekend we were doing 100 to 150 shows a year. We were gone 225 nights a year.